Okay, let's get it. Imagine your life at peak impact. I want you to draw that impact at that moment.
I mean, like me personally, or
Whatever that means to you, like whatever peak impact means to you,
like symbolically.
symbolically. Yeah. You just can't use words, just even if it's abstractions, because you're going to explain it anyways.
It's the best
Got
I
it?
got.
All right. Tell me, what is that?
It's someone sitting by the computer, turned the other way while the AI writes their code.
All right. And was that a toilet?
Nah, it's a chair. I can't draw.
All right. Someone sitting at a chair and just chatting with the computer and the AI is building it.
Yeah.
All right. What does that mean to you? Why is that important to you?
It's kind of like the mission of this product, which is like increase productivity. So, um, kind of like let the AI take on a majority of the work that you don't really want to take on. Um, so like we could build faster, we could make progress faster. Maybe it doesn't look like turning the other way from the chair, but just kind of quickly symbolizing like not having to spend your time doing the repetitive work anymore.
Okay, so no repetitive work. That's like, do you think about taste and how taste factors into building? Or
You said what?
do you think about taste, like the individual taste of the builder and how that affects the
Yeah.
building process, and how do you approach that?
So I think humans always going to have to be the supervisor, no matter how good AI gets. Like human, you want them to have the taste, you want them to have the guidance, but a majority of the time that we spend like building, it's not taste or guidance. It's like we go, we take what we think would be right, spend a lot of time working on it, and then we finally got it put together.
Okay. And how far away do you think we are from that vision that you drew?
Uh, Loosely, maybe 2 to 5 years.
2 to 5 years. All right. So let's say in 5 years you've built this, it's doing all of that. At that point in time, what are the opportunities you want to attract?
Um, as in like how the product shapes the future.
Just for you, like what is an exciting opportunity? Like, because you're not just building this to help the world, right? You're building this to kind of reach the next level of your journey.
Hmm.
And what does that look like in terms of the opportunities you're attracting at that point in time, right? Like,
Yeah.
you've learned how to code, and we'll get into your story in a minute, but you've reached this point, and the opportunities you're attracting now is this ability to build this product and share it and all of that. But then what's the next level? You've done that. What are the opportunities you want to attract at that point?
I think it goes like abstraction on top of abstraction. So like
Mhm.
you get it to the point where it can write code well, start to like branch out some of the other things, um, helping it kind of be like a bit of like an innovator,
Mhm.
driving like other directions, um, help like expand the creative mind a bit. So it's like not just doing the grunt work anymore. It's helping with other things.
That's an interesting, like, I want to just open up that. Like, what do you mean by innovative? Like,
So like you go to build a software, for example, you have to think like what to build, what's useful, how to put together architecture, do a lot of like research and stuff. Kind of one of the directions like deep research is trying to go, but it's like it's very much human right now, like how to make these decisions. You can use AI and it's helpful, but AI right now is kind of like you talk to it, it says yes to the popular opinion.
mhm.
So trying to get it to like drive direction, drive change in those aspects.
So the yes man problem with that AI is like something you're trying to fix. Like, you're trying to make it have an opinionated, creative direction,
I think that would be the next step. I think it's partially on the model developers, partially on the application side, kind of like what you've seen OpenAI do with deep research, where it's like that's a little bit less opinionated, where like drills down really helps gather these resources and information to like get the information you're really looking for to drive decision making.
Mhm. But like, what's your vision for that? Like, how do you intend to implement that
I haven't got that far yet.
creativity or that innovation, or what are you doing to find the answer? Maybe you don't have the answer, but what are you doing to find the answer?
I'm kind of just going abstraction on top of abstraction. So starting where I am now, which is like I think you need to try to get like most of the core, most of the grunt work out of the way. Then you can kind of start layering on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, not too far along with my like vision, like what that would look like. But kind of like the goal for this product as a whole is like just layer on top of layer of finding ways to help increase productivity and innovation.
Uh, what I'm hearing is at some point you want to not be building and just be like pondering. Okay, we have all the because like right now you're building all of it. You can't afford the developers, you can't afford the collaborators,
Mhm.
but at some point you want it to be like self-sustaining enough where you can, I guess, hire someone as cracked as you to develop it. But then you want time to wander the forest or something, like, do you write? Like, what do you do to kind of enrich that your personal creativity or your personal taste?
Uh, I don't write. I don't know. I guess I just like think about it. That's about as far as I go.
But do you have like any rituals? Like, do you like going on walks or something? Like, how
No.
do you? Huh? Do you plan on developing any rituals? Like, how did you come up with this idea?
Um, I got my Apple Notepad. I just started jotting stuff down. I guess that's equivalent to writing. I leave like sloppy notes, kind of like think about it like what can we do? Where do I think AI is kind of heading towards the future? I tried to take into account like mostly where it is right now because that's what can be built and
Mhm,
kind of like what I think it's heading towards.
mhm.
You hear a lot of stuff about like AI is going to be this, AI is going to be that, and maybe it will be, but some of it is so like far-fetched from where it currently is, where I kind of like it's on the back of my mind, but I'm not really engineering towards that.
Yeah, because you had a take on like the recent hype about MCP, and you're like, I don't know about that because
MCP, it's a great foundation. It's just what's being given out right now, like okay, I looked into windsurfs. I kind of like where windsurf's starting to take it, but like Cursor, it just kind of gives you this very like cryptic, it's like developer heavy, like not user friendly. Um, at the core, it's like it's a tool to let AI work with API calls essentially. So they're on kind of like heavy on the user friendly side where it's like I see the hype, but it's like this isn't where Cursor's going to leave it either. It's like this is not a great implementation in my opinion. I don't want to follow that traction.
is it? Am I understanding MCPs correctly when I say it's like keyboard shortcuts for your app, but for AI, basically? Like you create a list of actions that the AI can take on whatever you're building, and that is an MCP, or am I misunderstanding?
Uh, I guess kind of. It's like giving the AI tools. So like,
But
um,
weren't tools available a long time ago?
mm, custom tools. So like
Uh-huh.
these are tools that like people make externally, and you can just kind of integrate them. So it's nice. It's like a nice little hub where you could connect to certain kinds of like external tooling that people built. It can be community driven. That's what I get the sense of. At least I'm not like a big MCP user myself. I
Mm.
don't have too much of a purpose, but I've like dived in. I think it has potential like going forward in the future. I just think where it currently is and what's being given out
Mhm.
it's like you're just giving out this like very unabstracted layer that's not very workable.
And is there like payments you can charge the AI for using your tools and stuff? Because that sounds interesting. Because like if I'm building Caravan notes, right? And I have
Mhm,
all this writing knowledge that I'm building into the app itself.
mhm.
So theoretically, can I just create an MCP layer so that the AI can use Caravan notes to write and then charge it money for using my stuff? Or how does that work? Do you know?
I don't know if you can right now. I
Mhm.
think in theory, um, that probably would be a direction it should push to.
Mhm.
I don't know where it is right now with that though.
Mhm. What is your proudest moment?
Uh, proudest moment. Um, I don't know. I don't have a single proudest moment.
Does do any pop up? Couple pop up in your mind?
Let's see. I'd say getting my first job, like getting my software engineering job.
Mhm. Can you tell the story of that?
So, I was a student going through my CS degree
Mhm.
and I was applying and applying. I
Yeah.
think I applied to like, maybe 200 jobs. I
Okay.
had uh I had like a few interviews, bombed them
Mhm.
all, was getting mostly ignored, and it's like need to find a job. I had one class. It was my last 2 quarters of my college degree.
Mhm.
And it was like kind of like a student internship class. It was called
Okay.
Software Design Project, where
Mhm.
companies come in, they present their project, and us students, we collaborate. We build the project. So like company gets a project built, student gets some experience. I partnered
Cool.
up with the company that I'm at now, and I ended up in a position where like the class was surprisingly small. It was over COVID,
Mhm.
so I was on a team with like two other people, and I got a chance to kind of like stand out in ways that I
Got it.
wasn't able to on the job board or interviews.
Got it.
So took that opportunity, just kind of ran with it throughout the entire project, just hoping like, you know, I know that
What
they
did you
bring
build? What did you build on?
it's called PySpark IP. So it was a
PySpark IP?
yeah,
Okay.
uh, it's open source. I don't know, I haven't maintained it, so I don't know like what's the current state, but um in Apache Spark, Um, it's pretty much like an API to work with IP addresses natively, like as a native data type.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. Uh, and so like what did it do exactly? Like what would you use native IPs for? Like you mean like hardware IPs?
Like in your logs, yeah,
Uh,
like IPv4, IPv6 addresses. So like in your logs, you'll get a lot of IP addresses, and they're presented as strings, like 12.123 dot whatever. But internally, they're kind of like they're kind of more like numbers, because they get broken down to like sequential numbers, not string delimited characters. So this allows you to kind of like um, work with them like natively. You can also kind of like group them together in sets, like all that kind of stuff. So
mhm.
um, the primary use
To
case.
achieve what then? Like what was the value they or the utility they received from that?
Primary use case is like security operations. So
Hmm.
like you need to monitor this like these sets of IPs. You
Hmm.
need to ban these sets of IPs or allow these sets.
Hmm.
Um, it gets a little hard sometimes when you're not just doing like a very easy to like identify or work with range.
Hmm.
So this kind of helps with that pretty much.
Also like
And
access control, and it's like removing, I guess, the transformation layer from string to an IP. You made it so that you don't even have to deal with that. Or maybe I'm not getting it. Maybe it's too technical, but I'm just curious to understand, like, what did they see in you that they were like, hell yeah, let's go. We want to
Yeah.
hire you.
So this was their project idea. So I
Hmm.
didn't come up with this. They all presented this.
Yeah.
The project worked. Like when I got brought back to the team, we used it in production too.
Uh-huh.
So it went well. Um, but
Like for
I,
someone listening, right? They're like, I want to land my first job, right?
yep.
Uh, what did they see in you that's since the deal?
I pumped out like a lot of effort. So I
Okay.
really took initiative on it. The project, it was very open-ended. Like they had no
Mm-hmm.
idea how to build it. Um, so it was like very much up to us students to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got the spotlight. Like one of the team members didn't do anything. Another one left after the first quarter. So it was kind of
Uh-huh.
like me working with them. So
Amazing. Okay. So you didn't give up. You weren't like, oh, I don't have my team members. You took it on. You were like, you took initiative. You tried to
yeah.
solve it and pumped out a bunch of energy. That's great.
So yeah, I took on I had like a few
Uh,
pivots I had to go through, a few big decisions.
yeah.
Pretty much just took initiative, got it out
Amazing.
there. Um,
And they hired
and
you like right after that course. So like it kind of paid off. Like you're like, hell, yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Nice. That's awesome. And then what what happened after? Like, do you have another like second proudest moment you think of?
Uh, I'd say getting into the university I got into.
Yeah. All right. So you going back. All right. So since then, okay, getting into university, and then what's your story? Like, how did you get into this? Like, what is the story up until the point you were like, let's go. I need to build on a
So, I started my computer science degree when I want to say like 21. It might be like a year or two before or after.
just
Before that, I was in college for like 2 or 3 years. I never really took it like too seriously. Just kind of
yeah.
just doing general letter, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, Before that, was never really like the person to take it too seriously. I was kind of like doing whatever. So that's where I
Hmm.
really started like my mission. Decided to like lock down maybe like
Yeah.
a semester after starting computer
Hmm.
science. So got through my degree. Um, I had like a few struggles of like starting from, I guess, behind a lot of
Okay.
people because a
Yeah.
lot of people
21. Like a lot of people graduated.
yeah, like a lot of people graduated. The people who
Mhm.
are starting this, they're kind of ahead a lot of the time where like they have a lot of requirements done. They're kind of like already on track with this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Already have like work ethics too. My work
Hmm.
ethics, they weren't there yet. So,
Hmm.
just like getting through that.
Yeah.
Got a job where I'm at right now.
Hmm.
Still haven't left yet.
Yeah.
Um, so
But that's great. So you're
oh,
like 21. You're like, I'm behind, but I need to start taking my life seriously.
yep.
You crushed it. You got a job. And now, at what point do you say, okay, job is great, but I want to try this like entrepreneur stuff?
So um a few months after GPT-4 came out,
Hmm.
um, I was like pretty skeptical. I tried GPT-3. I seen the hype. When I see crazy hype, I try it and it doesn't match up. I kind of throw it away. I'm like, this is bullshit. So that's kind of how I felt about GPT-3. I picked up GPT-4 and I felt the difference. So
Hmm.
like it was giving correct answers.
Hmm.
I was taking it like, can this write code? It was writing code. It was like, this is the first piece of AI where I'm like, oh shit, like this is actually doing something.
Hmm.
So from there, I kind of started getting like a bit obsessed with it, where it's
Hmm.
like, I'm just like pushing its limits. Like, what can it do? When it can't
Hmm.
do something, I'm like, how can I get it to do this?
Hmm.
So, just like really taking interest into it, trying all these other AIs, like seeing how it
Hmm.
works. Took like some little courses, like how does this stuff actually like work? What can it do? So that's where the interest started to develop.
Hmm.
Um, I just started making like little bullshit side projects with the
Hmm.
APIs. Um, and then I got this idea of like, what if I make a code assistant? Because like that's where I know how to evaluate like, is it doing the best thing? The best because like that's what I do all day anyways.
Mhm.
So I started a JetBrains code assistant.
Was
Back
it
then,
because there was no Copilot in JetBrains? So you were like, JetBrains needs a Copilot, or
I only use JetBrains. So not a VS Code fan at all.
but is there an AI assistant in JetBrains before Honor?
There were some.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there's a couple. None of them, I think still none of them are good for JetBrains. VS Code kind of hogs the market on like
Okay.
actual code assistants, but aside from that, I'm kind of like, I like building stuff. I want to build my own regardless of what's on the market.
Can you skin JetBrains like VS Code? Like you know how Cursor is just a skin on VS Code?
Repeat that.
Can you skin JetBrains like Cursor did for VS Code?
Like take it, fork it, all that.
Yeah.
Yes, but with some extra work. So they're a they have a community edition, which is all open source, and then they have
Okay.
the ultimate edition, which is closed source, and it has the like yearly fees and all that.
Mhm.
Community edition, you can take that and build on it, but from there, um, you have to take on the overhead of supporting all the stuff that's not in the ultimate edition, which is like pretty much language support. So like TypeScript, JavaScript, a lot of those languages, you don't
Mhm.
get them in the community edition. So
But hasn't the community solved those problems anyways?
yes, but it would take a little bit of time to catch up. So like,
Because that's a good vision. Because you doing the everything and maintaining two code bases, one for JetBrains, one for VS Code, is going to drain you in terms of the speed
yep,
of
yeah,
development.
yeah,
And if you can just fork it and name it something different, just a neural IDE,
yep,
you kind of can get this kind of like cursor type experience where it's like, okay, everybody knows it's JetBrains, but it's your JetBrains.
yeah. So I've thought about this many times. I might act on it one day, but right now it's a little too much overhead because like it'll take a few maybe months to really achieve like feature parity
Mhm. I
on
would I
the
would hit at it every day, but like I would do like a side project, like do that 2 hours a day at the end of the day or something,
yeah. Um
or 2 hours in the beginning of the day, just like to get it to that point because no one's going to do that work for you.
Maybe one day. I'm still debating it. It's like it's on my mind pretty often. But yeah, I am in the position right now where it's like I have JetBrains and I have VS Code. I structured it in a way where I did this pretty intentionally because going back to the original Neuro when I started
Mhm.
it, I had them built and I was pretty much duplicating code across VS Code and JetBrains.
Mhm.
That was very hard to manage.
Mhm.
I took the approach. I completely killed the project about a year
Mhm.
ago and redid it with
Mhm.
a more clever architecture.
Okay.
So now it's a lot less management. So like 90% of the code is on the UI, which is connected through a web view. They share the same exact UI, so 90% of the code is reusable. So like remove
Okay.
that state management. The remaining pieces that have to live in the IDE extensions, um, that's kind of where I'm like duplicating some code,
Mhm.
but it's light to the point where like any feature I support in JetBrains, I will port it to VS Code in like 2 to 3 hours.
Okay, so it's not taking that much time, but it is still overrunning and it still
It's
might
overhead.
make you hesitate. Be like, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's overhead and I don't like VS Code. I don't like the
Mhm.
API. I don't like touching the IDE, so
Mhm.
it's kind of tedious for me personally also.
Yeah, and then bugs, people reporting, and you're like, God damn, now I gotta go find the bug on VS Code and all that. I don't know. I think that there was some opportunity there. Just not even from a market perspective, just from like a personal perspective. I think there's an opportunity there. So what are your superpowers? Like what would you describe as your superpower?
I could pound out code.
Mhm.
I could pound out code, pound out
Okay.
features.
Okay.
I move fast. I can build well. So I think I have a strong technical background. I have a lot of drive, so I could just like pound out work for hours and hours and hours, days and days and days.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I don't really like burn out if it's something I want to work on. So
That's good. That's a great superpower. I have kind of similar super. It's like I call it the opposite of ADD. Whatever ADD is, I'm the complete opposite of that. I can work on something for years, and not lose interest.
yeah,
So that's a really good superpower for business, especially. Um, can you pitch on neural for like someone who doesn't know what it is?
yeah. So um,
Sorry.
and this is kind of where I'm starting to break off because like who am I pitching to? Like if the product's for everybody, it's a little bit
Well,
hard
this
to.
software, it's software engine. It's not for everybody. Like what you're building, like you know, it's just not for everyone. That is just a way to feel safe when you're kind of starting this business journey. You're like, oh, the bigger the target market is, then the more money I'm gonna make. And it's a big mistake because resonant or persuasive writing is personal, and you cannot write personal copywriting if it's targeted for everyone. So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot like that.
Yeah,
But software engineers, if it's JetBrains users, that's even like more targeted, and you can start speaking in JetBrains language. People that are familiar with the language, familiar with the features, familiar with whatever, and you'll convert them way easier than if it's VS Code in JetBrains. That's why, like, I'm like, I'd be great because you can crush it into the JetBrains, blow that up, and once that's awesome, and now that you figure out the architectural technique, right? You can then port it to VS Code and then have like a different VS Code goal. Uh, in terms of marketing and strategy like that, business wise. Like if you think of like Facebook wasn't the social media network for all colleges. It was social media for Harvard, then it was for Ivy Leagues, then it was for colleges, then it was for schools, then it was for everyone. So you have to be patient like that and see it play out in these phases. It's called like the bowling pin strategy or something like that. It's like, anyway. So yeah, pitch it for JetBrains users.
so it's a code assistant
Mhm.
where you pick it up in your IDE and you can chat with it. You ask questions, it'll give you answers. Um, it can edit your files, create files, run commands in your terminal, search through the code base, search the internet.
Mhm.
Um, it can handle, you could swap between like different models. So the most powerful code models.
You're
Uh,
describing the product, you're not pitching it. The pitch is coming at it from the pain point. So pitch it again, like try it again. Like what is the pain point right now that the a JetBrains user faces, and how do you enter from that entry point?
gotcha. Um, let's see. I'm kind of going off the top of my head.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, just we'll brainstorm.
um, it's a code assistant where when you need to develop anything from new features to refactoring or maintaining best practices across your code base, you reach out, ask questions, and it'll help you with your development workflows.
But that is not a pain point. That is not a real pain point because that pain point is already addressed with cursor, all this other stuff. So what is the unique pain point that
I guess if you're for specifically for JetBrains, cursor for JetBrains, that's kind of dumbing it down.
is there a cursor for JetBrains?
No,
Then there we go, bro. Like that is the angle. You need to do this super fast. Like I think this month's thing that you're talking about is not real. I think if you hunker down, like just close everything and go in your cave for a month and emerge, you'll emerge with something pretty dope. You know what I mean? And I never I don't have to release this like until that moment in time. So you Not that and you're the only person who started this, but I don't want to contribute to more crazy competition. You
Yeah.
know, but if there's no cursor for JetBrains, like that is such an easy setup. You go to every JetBrains user, you have a user base already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like I don't know, like you might just be acquired by JetBrains if you do it well. And the integration in their software was going to be like a simple because it's just for JetBrains. They're going to acquire and they want to be in this space anyway. Because of the JetBrains, fantastic. How did you get your first set?
Get my first sale?
Hmm.
I don't know, to be honest. I put up the Stripe payments. I added the like switch that'll gate users behind like the upgrade sign. I already had users. One of them just clicked it.
Okay, so how do you get your first users then?
I just posted it. Um, I literally just published it, zero marketing. Um,
On
I
Twitter?
don't
Like, where,
know.
where do you tell people about
I didn't. I just kind of published it and people just kind of, I only have like
Oh, because
6,000
through the
downloads, but
store, you mean? Like they
yeah,
found it through the JetBrains store?
yeah,
Okay, yeah, fantastic. So you just published it and, you know, people searched AI assistant, saw you and were like, let's go, basically.
yeah.
Okay,
I'm not too sure if like, I guess it caught the algorithm, promotion algorithm a bit, but yeah, I mean, they came across it, they downloaded it, they tried it. It's kind of how that started.
fucking awesome. That's fine. It doesn't, people think they have to have this like huge brands or whatever, but like the reason why you do a lot of organic marketing is to find the pitch, is to find the thing that the magic spell that you tell people and they go and download it. But if that spell's already built in because you're in the right moment, people are looking for AI code assistant in that search, you're good. So I bet you if you go on Google search whatever or and you do cursor for JetBrains, you're gonna see
Mhm.
the search volume is insane. And like that's another way to just get in cursor for JetBrains.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
like there are code assistants, but nothing cursor quality is kind of what I'm getting at
yeah,
there.
cursor quality or even Windsurf quality, whatever. Like Windsurf right now is winning in terms of UI. It's just cursor uh, has the majority. Like people, and especially these kinds of products, once you're used to something, changing it is a pain in the nuts. You don't want to learn something new. You're like, I'm good. This workflow works for me. I'm not looking to change unless there's some insane switching thing. But right now, you going after the people who already are familiar with VS Code and using cursor. Is Windsurf VS Code also?
It's every AI IDE is just VS Code.
Okay, yeah. So people are used to VS Code and they're gonna shop between those things. A third one, usually it's one or two. It's like if it's a monopolistic market, if it's a you know not a clear winner in the market, you can kind of go in and compete and you can have like 20 different options. But when it's like this kind of monopoly kind of situation, you want to find a differentiated position. And I think JetBrains, Cursor, I think you should just hunker down, bro. Oh man. All right. So this next question, I think we got it, which is like, who are you serving? And it's JetBrains users. Um, and then the largest or the biggest customer you can get is a company that uses JetBrains throughout the corporation and then sell proceed. That's kind of obvious. Yeah. So in terms of like positioning within the JetBrains market, like what do you know the competitors right now? Like,
Yeah. So there's
yeah.
JetBrains AI Assistant, which is like their native product.
Uh-huh.
It's terrible. It's even through like community feedback, going through like
Hmm.
Reddit,
Hmm.
it's just not a good product. Um, what else do we got? We have like some basic ones like Codium. Um, Before they started Windsurf, they have one in JetBrains.
Okay.
It's not very thorough. I don't think it
Okay.
even has like a majority of the features. Um,
Okay. So it's the scariest one so far because they have proof of concept in their VS Code thing. All right.
I think they're really doubling down on Windsurf.
Mm-hmm.
They want people to go to Windsurf. They don't care
All
about
right.
it. It's I don't know. I don't there's like no big leader right now. There's like a bunch of random junk. You try it,
Yeah.
it's pretty bare bones most of the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Copilot, I guess, is also on JetBrains, right?
it's not good in JetBrains either. Like there's a feature drift where VS Code gets the features, JetBrains kind of gets the leftovers all the time. You got a lot more instability in there, so they
That's
got
this
a little
is
bit
this
more
is
rough.
great news. Like this is I just don't understand why it's taking you this long to realize this.
I
Is it because
realized
no one's chatted with you about it like me? Or
I realized, but I've kind of taken a few mindsets here. The one that's leaned a little more is leave the market open, which might be shooting myself in the foot,
Mhm.
but
It is.
it's crossed my mind too.
Yeah, it is definitely shading. Um, all right. What's the magic trick? Like, what makes yours so special? Like, if they see it as compared to all this other stuff, they're gonna be like, God damn, this is good.
Initial impressions, I think I serve the best UI. I think Windsurf does do a good job with UI,
Mhm.
but that's very like VS Code like. I put a lot of focus into UI. Kind of like drill down into there, making it very like simple to just do things without configurations and jumping through hoops everywhere.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like initial
It's not
impression.
an impression though. Like a magic trick or like this kind of what I'm hinting at is, like there's a website called Magnific AI and it has these like sliders, and
Mhm.
it's like before blurry, after crisp, and you're like, I need that. It's like an immediate visual thing that demonstrates the quality of the product.
Um, I think the agentic workflows, so like you prompt it, it does everything for you, and it gives you the finished feature or task.
Oh yeah, like the one you have on like pinned on your thing with the
Yeah, pretty much like that.
mm, like seeing it work. Yeah, I guess that's a good one. And what is what are the quality features that they're going to be judging this by? Like,
Um, Response quality, so like when it goes and outputs code, like
mhm,
how well does it output code?
mhm,
Um, that's probably the biggest one. Like you try it, if it gives you the correct answer, you're happy. If it gives you the incorrect answer, you leave. Um,
yeah. So like accuracy.
yep.
All right. What else?
Um, I guess like um, I guess like feature set. So like what can it do? Like is it just going to output code to my screen? Is it going to like edit the file and just kind of like recklessly leave it there?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah,
I put in
features definitely like let's call it capabilities.
yeah.
Uh, what else? I think definitely UI is probably a factor. Like how the interactions move from
Yeah,
one thing to
UI,
another.
UX. It's like you can't verbally say, I have the best UI, but you see
Mhm,
it and I personally think like you see this versus you're a new user and you see cursor for the first time. Cursor is very overwhelming. Like people get used to it because it's very big,
mhm.
but I don't think they did a good job on UX.
No, not at all.
Personally,
Um, And in terms of capabilities, like right now, there's chat and then there's agent. Uh, what more capabilities can you think of that are going to move the needle?
Running commands in your terminal, so it can like
Terminal command.
install packages, test code for you.
Mhm.
Um, it can see errors, so like syntax errors, so it won't leave any mistakes on your screen.
Oh, it
Um,
can identify syntax errors and then fix them.
yeah, it has a self-correcting feedback loop, so like it'll never output code and leave errors on your screen.
But is there the other way around? Is there like I write some shit and then there's a
It'll see it.
syntax error and then it'll see it?
Yeah,
It'll and I can just say, hey, why is this an error? And then
yeah, just say
amazing.
fix and it'll fix it.
Hell yeah. What else do you think of?
It can search through your code base semantically. So like if you just open up your code base, click the little indexing thing and say like um, add this to my pricing page, it'll find your pricing page, it'll add it. So it can scale to very large code bases very well.
Okay. Could be semantic search. That's great. And then can it see the tabs that are open?
Yep. Context management. Um, I think I personally like my UX for that the best. You can, it'll follow you to whatever tab you have open. So like it's kind of looking at the same thing you're looking at all times. Then if you want to add or remove context, you can just quickly select the little drop down out of your open tabs. You just choose the ones that you have.
Yeah, because the cursor doesn't do that for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
Like
And
all the tabs are open and I still have to go search for them. And it's like, yeah, bro, guess what I want to work on? The things that I've opened.
yeah, that's that
Stupid,
was one of
man.
my pain points. Every
Mhm.
single code assistant that's like popular right now kind of
Mhm.
does this, which is like, why are the active tabs not the primary consideration when adding context?
So ridiculous. Yeah, that's something that pisses me off. What else?
Uh, this one's a little harder verbally, but I think when you actually get in and you try the application, it'll scale better to larger conversations and larger contexts. So like
Uh,
performance across more complexity.
um, I'll get into that, but you see how on your website
Yep.
you don't mention any of this stuff that we're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Chat, agent, terminal command, syntax error, code-based semantic search, and context tabs. Like,
Yep.
if you just highlight those features instead of whatever you're highlighting right now, it will convert better.
Yeah.
Because, anyways, let's keep going. So, what have you done, or why is it better at larger code bases?
So I have a bit of a like different pricing model where um I kind of proxy the charges back to you. So credits, you still kind of get like this trade-off. They'll kind of truncate a bit aggressively, I found. I think it's because of their like credits based where it's like somebody's losing some kind of value there. Um, but I've kind of noticed like they truncate your inputs pretty aggressively and like it's going to lack context across many resources.
Was that a real thing? They do that to save on credits,
That's what I'm
even when
assuming they
you're
do it for.
even when
Uh,
you're bringing your own API keys.
uh,
I guess their laziness is gonna
it
make that
I'm
answer yes, right? Because they wouldn't want to do different code bases.
it may not be because of credits, but I do notice that they kind of like they will go for a more refined context approach
Mhm.
a lot of the time. I personally think like it kind of scales better to like include that all. It's a little more expensive. Context management, I do a lot of like truncating under the hood, shifting around context everywhere. So just like that kind of
But is that
workflow.
something you can talk about, or is that like some sort of secret sauce you don't want to talk about? Because this is stuff users will judge quality by, right? And if you can't talk about it clearly, because I don't get what you're saying. You're saying I'm truncating things, and that immediately makes me afraid. I'm like, why are you truncating anything, right?
Yeah.
Because if I was gonna code this, I would want the whole context, right? Like I would probably, it was like a Svelte file, I'd remove the CSS because that has nothing to do with logic, right?
Yep.
Or something like that. Uh, but I would not cut. Yeah, that's kind of now that I'm thinking about it, I'm doing Svelte. It does seem more, but then there's all this like extra context that doesn't need like if I'm just talking about JavaScript or like it's gonna still look at the HTML and CSS just for how Svelte is constructed. Anyways, but yeah, is that context management stuff? Is there like a visual, clear way you can explain this?
I guess that's more like a secret sauce when you get in there.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I can't say what Cursor's doing exactly, but I do notice when I ask questions through mine, like complex
Mhm.
questions, lots of context everywhere, lots of like many tool calling steps, mine performs better than Cursor. So I guess that's kind of like a retention thing rather than
Yeah,
verbally.
like
Yeah.
yeah, but I guess, but is there a way to feel it? Like, is there indicators and stuff you can put there? Like for me, I did like did I show you Caravan?
What's up?
Did I
Yeah.
show you Caravan notes? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have this like little chat IQ thing,
Hmm.
which kind of gives you some sort of indication of how context is managed,
Yeah.
but without revealing anything. So is there like HUD stuff like that you can do?
I could maybe do like a use cases like I take this, I prompt it in here, it gives me some junk. I take it here, gives me something
Mm.
better. But
Oh, like a yeah comparison. That can be a whole series, bro. Cursor
I could
versus
see try to
whatever,
build all
and
that.
just video, you know, one shot things, and you just compare outcomes and just have because it's not going to take a lot of time to do that, right? And
Mhm.
you can just do it once a day or once a week or something like that, whatever you have the aptitude for. And it can be like a constant way to just ping people, because that's what marketing is just staying on top of mind because to the point they want to make the decision. But a lot of times people think it's a one-time thing, a launch or whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, amazing! I'm not ready to switch right now," and then they forget you in 2 weeks. But if
Yeah.
you have a thing where you're like constantly pushing, man, I like. Uh, so, what is like a five-star experience for this product?
What do you mean?
Like, what would make someone want to write an awesome review? Because a lot of times people use things and they're like, ah, whatever, it's good. They're not like going to be like, this is five-star experience, guy.
Um, I think you pick up the product. I see this from like users too that stay. Um, it seems like they pick it up, they try it out and like get familiar with the features. Um, it I guess they tell it to develop something. They like it.
Mhm.
They stick.
So it's kind of, I think at like at launch point, they're like, hey, it does everything I wanted to do, basically. So it just meets that requirement, but everything is great.
Yeah.
What is a six-star experience?
Uh, it does it better than I would have done it.
Interesting. So like the code is cooler, like, more clever code or creative code or stuff like that.
Yeah, that happens to me too.
Mhm.
Somewhat out of my so like I built on top of the AI model. A lot of it's driven by the AI model, so a lot of the mistakes driven by it, a lot of the like wow moments also driven by it. So partially like thank you Anthropic, but partially steered by my application as well.
Right. What is a seven-star experience?
7 star. Uh, Catching flaws in your existing code, like trying to practice best practices. I've actually tried to drill down on that a little bit. It's getting somewhere, but working with AI is a little headache sometimes.
I love it. I like that you're going for it though. What's funny is that like as I'm like reading through these questions and knowing what we kind of figured out in the beginning of this, all of these answers are like obvious at this point, but I just want you to go through them just so you can think about the important things to think about, right? Like in terms of like as a repetition movement to solidify like important things or solidify priorities. But priorities. It's a tough one when you're not American to say that. Anyway, so in storytelling, there's this concept called an inciting incident,
Hmm.
right? An inciting incident is kind of like when Super Mario, hanging out with Luigi, Peach, life is good. Bowser shows up, steals Peach. That incites Super Mario to go on a quest to save Peach. That is an inciting incident for Super Mario. What is the inciting incident for the JetBrains user? Like, at what point do they say it's time for a change? I need to get into this stuff. I need to download something. What is that point? When do they say that?
I think a lot of people, social media drives that. So you go on Twitter, you see a lot of this is kind of like where Cursor got the momentum. You see a lot of like all this cool stuff happening, all these demo videos. You're writing code by hand. You see it enough, you're like, okay, I think I gotta try this out. Like it looks like something's crazy's happening.
But can you drill down a little more? Because with me, I don't want to change anything. I think it's at the beginning of a project is when that is the highest likelihood. Would you agree? Or do you think some people are going to switch mid-project?
Mm, I think either mid-project I don't think is too much of an issue because of the minimal commitment to attempt a switch.
Especially using JetBrains, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a code assistant. Like you don't get vendor lock-in by being on anybody. So,
Mhm.
you go try whoever. You just replace your workflow for like trying to replace your workflow. It's a 5-minute test.
Mhm. I guess so. So you think it's mostly social media driven?
I think a lot of it's social media driven.
Okay. But okay. Can you think of another like inciting incident? Because still, like I'm not sold on that, right? Because like a lot of times these things you think happen that way,
Hmm.
but it has to be a really painful experience for them to be like, God damn it, I need to do something else. Uh,
Um, I think it might be like trying other AI products. Like somebody, not on social media, they try JetBrains AI assistant. They stick with it because it's kind of just like they have terrible experience after terrible experience, and then they kind of branch out. Like I would rather write code by hand at this point. You know, maybe I'll try something else.
mm, that is becoming increasingly less of a concern because they're all using Claude or OpenAI or something, and they're just getting better at writing code. So at some point, it's not going to be like this is creating so many mistakes that I just can't take it anymore, right? So I think this is kind of something like high level. A lot of people don't think about it, but converting young people is way easier than converting established people who write
Yep,
code by hand. Like if you catch someone who's just finished a React course, you know what I mean?
yep.
And you're like, bro, you don't want to use Cursor, you want to use JetBrains, or you want to use whatever, a neural, right? The JetBrains, so what? A neural, just use JetBrains under the hood, because now you have two selling propositions. Like, here's all the amazing things that JetBrains has that is not in VS Code, and now that you've made that sell, which JetBrains already spent decades mastering, you can now be like, and the best AI assistant in JetBrains is a neural, right?
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, you should think about that more because a lot of people think things like that, right? Marketing or like impressions are gonna create switches, but that is not enough to cause a behavior adoption or a behavior change. It has to be a monumental event. Like, a lot of times when people's, families start dying, it's like, oh, I need to change. Now, in coding, I'm just telling you, like, the level of experience that creates code. So, creates change. Sorry. So for coding, you have to think of those big events, right? Like someone just, you know, closed up shop. They spent years building something. Now it's a failure and they're starting new again. That is a big life change, right? Somebody just got acquired. Somebody just started learning code and, built his first project and is now ready to build a big project. Like these are monumental events that if you can zero in on and identify, you can now create packages or create marketing or create some sort of interception point that is more targeted.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So imagine someone who's like 100 times better than you at everything you do, right? Describe that person. What are they doing differently?
Uh, Knowing how to market well.
They're just better marketers. That's it.
Mm, Better marketer. Probably more experience, like architectures, some of a lot of the stuff that I'm building. I'm learning new things, already knowing that stuff. Um, I guess like maintaining better, it's like pushing harder on like technical aspects. Um, I'd say the biggest area where like you'll probably see that marketing.
Mm. And how do you think you can beat this super version of you that is like great marketer, has architectural experience, pushes harder? Although those are kind of all not very descriptive, like what does a better marketer actually mean? Like, you mean can acquire customers more intentionally instead of
Yeah.
more active marketer, basically.
Um, has a better sense of like what to do to actually acquire customers,
Mm,
product positioning, like distribution channels, presentation, um, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah, I
So
mean,
acquiring skills, positioning,
yep.
presentation skills. Although you're like that's something I kind of don't get with you is that your actual app looks amazing, but when it comes to websites and stuff like that, like the marketing, it just falls apart. Like what happens there? Like,
That's just me being new. So, me coming from, you should have seen the first product.
uh,
It's like when I started, I'm an engineer. I'm very much like in my shell. It's a lot of adaptation. So that's my next step of trying to adapt, which is like got to the point where the product looks nice, coming from like complete garbage.
mhm,
Marketing, it started way worse than it is now, even though it's
yeah.
very bad still. So it's just like observation, adaptation, coming from a background where it's like this is non-existent, trying to
Mhm.
develop that over time. So that's kind of
Uh,
where it is.
so it's just like a learning experience right now for you. So
Yeah.
what do you think like is the main priority for you right now to master to take it to the next level, like in terms of the skill?
Um, I think all those three marketing points that we just kind of talked about, like product positioning, like distribution channels.
You got the positioning. Right now, I don't want to hear about positioning. Positioning is cursor for jet planes. So easy. What is what do you think is gonna take you to the next level in terms of like a continuous skill that you can learn? Like you said, acquisition skills. Well, what does that actually mean? Do you mean like targeting the people searching for your thing better on JetBrains, or what is it
I think
exactly?
social media. So like
Yeah.
um outreach, like distribution channels, um, you know, like what works, how to make it work, like cold emails, if I'm sending cold emails, what's in those emails? How do I like what's a good way to lure people into this? Maybe like
Mhm.
some free credits, free trial, um, targeting individuals off like certain like search queries off Reddit, like cursor pain points. It's kind of like
Yeah,
drilling
because you
down.
don't have the like because you say social media, and I don't think social media is a good avenue for you because you don't have that personality of extra energy on camera or whatever, you know.
Yep.
So I do think, and it's not like nothing personal. It's just like some people have that kind of energy, some people don't, and that's fine. I think you can crush this with like B2B sales, like finding organizations that all use JetBrains and then sell them that kind of stuff. Uh, but yeah, it's not that difficult. It's just a matter of repetitions. You gotta put in the work. Like you gotta be like, hey, and demos are the way. Is to find whoever's in charge, not sell it. Just say, hey, bro, I noticed you use JetBrains because they said something about JetBrains, and I know your organization uses JetBrains. I've built cursor for JetBrains. Can I show it to you? That's it. Can we make a time phone call? Show it to you, and you take them and kind of like the demo you showed me, but more polished. This is how it works, blah, 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 da, da, da. And you go through the stuff we just talked about. This is chat. This is agent. This is terminal commands. This is syntax errors. This is code based semantic search. This is context tags. This is context management. And you show them all of that. And, I'll send you this right now, the capabilities thing on your DMs. Just think about that. And as separate selling features, right? Uh, and you show them all of that. You get their opinions on it. Amazing. Uh, they're gonna say, "Hell yeah, where do I sign?" If it's awesome, and if they don't say that, you ask them, "Hey, does this meet your needs? Why or why not? How can it meet your needs? Well, it needs ABCD features. Thank you for your time. You built ABCD features. You circle back. Hey, I built ABCD features. Can I show you that?" And
Yep.
that loop again. You never say, "Hey, buy now." It's always, "Can I show you the updates or whatever?" Yeah, sure. Cool. You know, your guidance and all that bullshit, works with people. Your advice was so useful last time. That kind of stuff.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, it's a loop. You just do that over and over again, bro, and that will give you the confidence to unlock all this other stuff. It'll give you the confidence to do marketing well because now oh, when I said context management to these people, they love that shit. Maybe I should put it in my website. When I said this to that guy, they love that. Let me focus on this when I'm talking to this. And it'll inadvertently just build your product IQ, like your personal product and the market IQ, and you'll crush it. Describe the most genius artist.
Was Genius Artist?
Hmm,
Like I'm blanking.
okay. It doesn't have to be a real person, it can be fictional. But what is something like a feat of creativity, of creation that is so amazing for you that if someone did it, you're going to be like, God dang, my man.
Yeah. Uh, I think I'm still blanking.
Like who has inspired you? Like, like have what product have you seen or what painting have you seen or what song have you listened to or that you were just outstanding?
GPT-4 when it came out.
GPT-4 when it came out. Hell yeah. Yeah, describe that. What about GPT-4 was like, God damn, hell yeah.
It was like it's like everything that you hear about the future is going to be, it's like right there. right in your face. Like all that, junk about AI is coming, blah blah blah. You don't see anything. And it's just like right there. Like you're seeing it, you're talking to it, you could ask it anything, and it's like no matter what you do, it's like proven to you. Like it
Mhm.
just came.
I love that. Uh, and like, is there something about that that inspires you, like to kind of want to imitate that, or like, can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah. Um, I guess like anything's possible. Like I never imagined that we had hit that GPT-4 point.
Mhm.
Um, like you hear a lot of yelling GPT-3.
Mhm.
It's like it was very, very far from GPT-4. I still, even when GPT-3 came out and you hear all this, I'm like, we're not going to hit, what in my mind was GPT-4. And it's like, it just came out and did the impossible, like something
Mhm.
that I thought shouldn't exist,
Yeah,
because it couldn't exist.
amazing. Uh, and you're just trying to take that into software, I guess, because like it's more language based, and
So there's like two layers of, I guess, like throwing AI into the digital world, which is you have the model, the GPT-4, whatever. Um, that's like the backbone. Like it'll answer, it'll do all that. Then you have the interface and the tooling layers, which is kind of where I come in, and I'm trying to double down on.
all right. There's a movie called Spartacus. You know, it's an old movie about this gladiator that freed the gladiators and raised an army and went against the Roman Empire. And in this movie, they capture the army. Like after a battle, they lose, and the Roman says, slaves, reveal to me who is Spartacus, and we'll spare your lives. And then Spartacus goes to like reveal himself, and then gets stopped by one of his, you know, team members, and was like, "I am Spartacus." And then another person steps forward, like, "I am Spartacus," and the whole army is, "I am Spartacus." So they're all like willing to sacrifice their lives for this value of freedom or bravery or all the stuff that Spartacus stood for. What is that for you? Like, what is the I am Julian moment? Right? Like, what is this kind of like value system that people would want to join and sacrifice for?
Like joining a neuro or like working with me.
The whole thing, yeah, like this group that you call we, right? Like, like this, like, who are we, right? And it's like me and my team, or me and my group, me and my whatever. What is that?
Um, I think the drive, like the intensity to push forward aggressively.
And where did that come from? Like, why do you think that's an important thing to think
Um,
about?
like in terms of why it comes out of me or why people would take it into account.
Yeah, like, where did you get it from, first of all? And then why is it why is it important?
Um, I think it's kind of how I am, like as a person. Um, like long before bringing this, I've kind of brought that kind of mindset, that kind of energy. So I just kind of keep that personally. Why people would be interested in this, kind of the same reason they're interested in, Cursor, OpenAI, like all the stuff that's like flying like a rocket ship,
Mm.
like it flies. So once it gains momentum, it's like just pushing forward, forward, forward. A lot of accomplishments, a lot of acknowledgement, um, bringing in, revenue and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, who are the icons that represent this, like in the modern day world?
Elon Musk is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, it's almost like accelerationism is what
Yeah,
you're describing.
yeah.
Uh, all right. What is the bad signal for your brain? Like, you know, there's crime in the world. Shoot the bad signal, Batman shows up. For Onuro and Julian in general. Like, what do you see that you have to put your 2 cents in or you have to show up?
Like, where am I lacking?
No, 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 just like for me, I'm like founder supporting founders, right? That's my brand. And whenever a founder needs support, I show up. I'm like, bro, you got it.
I
Let
got
me
you.
help you out. Anything you want. Well, what is that brand for you? And what is that call to action? Like
Um, Driving productivity among existing workers, I guess.
driving product. It's a little too broad. Uh,
So like enabling um workers to innovate and um go through their workflows at speeds that they can't in their current day-to-day. Maybe not the best wording, but
why is it not JetBrains programs? Why is that not in there? Because I feel like that's a good basic. Whenever a JetBrains user wants the superpowers of AI, you're like, bleep, bleep, bleep,
I thought you
bleep.
were
You
just talking
show up.
about like the mission of the product. Um,
What?
that's like purely from like a mission, like why I'm doing this. Um, it's kind of like I want to help people who are building. I want to help them build better, faster, more. So
Mhm.
accelerate the future. Be like the infrastructure for acceleration is kind of like
I
my
like that.
reason for it.
Infrastructure for acceleration. Hell yeah. Yeah, so it's acceleration. It's like technological acceleration or like, yeah, tech acceleration is you're going to show up and be like, yeah, let's go. How do we push this as fast as possible?
Yep.
And if there was a hat with your logo on it, is that what it would represent? Like, what would it represent? Like, what am I representing when I wear a hat with that?
What do you mean?
Like, let's say Honor, either my logo or your logo, we put it on a hat, right?
Yep.
And not you because you're the founder, but why would someone else want to wear that hat? What does it say about them when they wear that hat?
Um, from like a customer's perspective,
From like for example, I'm wearing right now like a Jackson Hole hat, right? Because Jackson Hole is a beautiful place. It represents all this
I see
kind of
what you're saying.
like opulence or whatever.
I got you.
Yeah,
Um, like the mission drives accelerating the future.
yeah. So it's that acceleration, isn't it? Like accelerating the future.
Mhm.
Accelerating the future is a great like tagline. Oh no, accelerating the future. Download today. All right. Uh, describe a neural in 6 words. Like I don't know anything about this, right? Be like, bro, you need to check out a neural because finish the sentence.
Write better code faster with I guess.
But is that different enough? Like it's not. It's like it's just a generic one, right? How do you make it less generic? I like that you hit it with 6 words though.
Um, Speed of cursor with JetBrains.
Uh, yeah, I think cursor for JetBrains is 3 words. You know, because everybody knows what cursor is right now. I'm even thinking about doing cursor for writing, like just to hop on the bandwagon. Uh, but I like cursor for JetBrains. There's a lot of people use it. JetBrains is like has a huge user base.
Yeah.
And
I
if
was
you yeah,
when I hadn't been on social media for years, so I hopped on like recently to start promoting.
yeah,
Uh when I go around like, my office and stuff, all I see is like JetBrains VS Code.
uh,
Uh I've seen Cursor like twice, like literally looking behind people's
mm-hmm,
computers. You only see JetBrains and VS Code, which
mm-hmm,
also kind of shows like industry isn't moving like social media. But I go on social media, I see JetBrains is like it's in the dirt,
mm-hmm.
and Cursor, it's like the only thing talked about. So it's like big drift from what I see in my personal life versus on social media. And
Yeah,
it's
but
just
social
like,
media, bro, is a distorted view of reality because it's like whatever indie hackers, people don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't have jobs. Like
yep,
they're just hype train people, So like definitely that grounding is good. Know what's out there in the real world. Anyways, we've reached the end. I need you to imagine your life at peak impact again, and I want you to draw that moment.
blanking.
You got it?
I'm blanking.
You blanking? All right, let me help you out. Imagine this like accelerationism concept, right? Like put yourself on that rocket ship that is a neural, right? And then fast forward like 30 years. What does the world look like? What is this software engineer, or if software engineers in 30 years are not, it's not a thing, but these roles just describe, I guess, a job that they're doing, but the person behind that job is kind of the same. It's like this kind of creator person who likes technical challenges, who see gaps in the world and say, hey, this can be done better. What does that person look like in 30 years, assisted by your rocket ship? And if 30 years is too long, 10 years, 20 years, like whatever timeline,
It's
however
the
you
drawing
think.
part I don't know how to do. I
Hmm?
could like,
Yeah,
uh,
just scribble some stuff, like use it as like a therapeutic expression, just whatever comes to you.
I just drew like happy people with a house.
All right. So describe that vision. Like, what is that?
Um, People living happier, healthier, like innovation, driving, um, like discoveries.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I think innovation drives better qualities of life.
mm.
I think code, software, AI is like meant to drive innovation, so that's where we want to try to push it towards.
Love it. Uh, that's it.